Now tomorrow will be the day that Capcom will drop the new trailer for the 4th title update for Sunbreak. And it does feel quite special for me for two reasons. One is that to me it kind of feels like the penultimate episode to a TV season. One last stop before the big finale that will arrive somewhere around spring of this year, and we can all assume what that content drop will feature. And the second reason is that my journey in playing this DLC has been quite a unique experience with regards to being a fan of the Monster Hunter series. Been there since the release, and as the months went by, I truly felt something of an ever-changing game when going through Sunbreak. So there's that. Tomorrow feels just as exciting as ever to see what's going to be added to that experience, which is why in this video we should go ahead and focus quickly on one particular direction that this DLC could go down regarding to the next update. Right around the same timeline in terms of major title updates, Iceborne dropped its own penultimate episode to its journey by introducing the Alatreon, the first Black Dragon Elder that made its return to the 5th generation, and the biggest challenge for the player base to fight before the final boss for World itself, the Fatalis. Speaking out of memory, when the Alatreon arrived in World, there were a handful of changes that were added to this Elder Dragon. New attacks, he can transition to different elemental modes, and most importantly, he gained a new powerful move in the Eschaton Judgment. All in all, the return of the Alatreon brought a complete overhaul for hunters to face. However, along with all the new changes, one factor towards the Alatreon that was made incredibly evident during his return is the spike in difficulty for Iceborne going forward. From what I recall, Iceborne had a few instances where the difficulty out of nowhere got turned up high. I have seen some instances where monsters became wolves for some people going through the game, things like the Barioth and even the Raphilos made up quite a challenge to players who were new to G rank. And going further into the post-game for the DLC included examples like the Furious Rajang and the Raging Brachydios, which were very challenging hunts going in for the first time. And with the instance of Alatreon's arrival, all I can say that it was a total massacre across the board, with players carting at every minute. I can regard things like the Shard Ishvalda and the Raging Brachy being exceptional challenges, but never in my time playing World have I seen so many people getting carted in a quest. Alatreon for me was the first time that I've experienced multiple failed quests across many sessions of playing Iceborne, and as a whole even World. The insanity of Alatreon was basically Fatalis in the last update before Fatalis was even a thing, and that Eschaton Judgment in particular was, for the first few weeks at least, the scourge of the Monster Hunter community. And despite me liking the fight with the Alatreon, it was one of the more tedious and annoying aspects of playing Iceborne, where the sole focus was to break the horns in order to weaken the judgment, and the whole thing was nothing more than a DPS check. And for me, it was like that for every Alatreon hunt. Though, looking back at it now, I wonder how many people who've complained about the Alatreon feel now that Fatalis happened. What I'm basically saying is that during the final stages of Iceborne's active months, is that out of nowhere, the difficulty went to shit. I didn't mind it because obviously it was a G-rank game and difficulty was a given, but I'm talking about that clear spike where every online session included either 2 or 3 people carting, multiple failed quests in a row, or basically both at the same time. And it got me thinking in terms of Sunbreak. I'd like to ask you a question, and please write it down in the comments. What monster gave you this specific experience in Sunbreak? Monsters like the Violet Mizutsune or the Chaotic Gore Magala came nowhere close to the previously mentioned Raging Brachy or the Furious Rajang. I did remember that one time one guy I played with was having a hard time with the Flaming Espinas. From my accounts, I've only had a handful of failed quests when fighting high-level anomaly investigations. And to make it really clear that I'm saying that Sunbreak is easier than Iceborne, the 3 risen monsters feel like a brisk walk in a sunny field, compared to running down no man's land in World War II with Arc-Tempered Namiel and Velkhana. I do feel that this sort of experience is missing when playing Sunbreak. For reference, please go watch my Let's Play series where I fought the recently added monsters in Sunbreak, a few close calls here and there, but other than that, the new monsters to fight were pretty much a breeze. I had cold sweats and Vietnam flashbacks thinking about that double Furious Rajang quest, and I still do now, though I just numbed the trauma down by fighting Furious Rajang in Sunbreak. See, there it is again. For me, my inner masochist does miss those times where this one particular monster was giving me a hard time. It feels strange, but moments like the Eschaton Judgment or Fatalis' fire nonsense utterly destroying an entire team does add to the enjoyment of playing Monster Hunter, and it's that one element that I wish Sunbreak should have included during its active months. Capcom should have really had it. Chaotic Gold Magala could have done with a Raging Bracky and entered a second stage in his fight, and either the Violet Mizitsune or the Flaming Espinas could have had the same difficulty. If and when Volcana comes back this winter, the one thing that everyone should expect from her is to come back in the same spirit that she was when she was at her Arc-Tempered form. To hell with it, just copy and paste the Arc-Tempered fight over to the DLC and add more moves to her. The closest thing we can get to the utter lunacy of Alatreon during his first few weeks are the highest level of anomaly investigations, which is fine for the most part. But it should go without saying that a newly included monster should be given the same treatment. I like Velkhana, and I think that she could be even more memorable if she gets beefed up a little. Of course, we can go down the route of one-shot attacks in an ice equivalent to Fatalis' fire, and if so, I'd say go for it. This game is fun and a solid DLC, although ramping up the challenge could be a good mix to enhance Sunbreak even more. Literally, they already did this with the emergency quest in Rise, so why not have this kind of challenge with the new monsters? I didn't remember having to rely on the Guiding Lance to give me the biggest challenge playing Iceborne, and that shouldn't be the case for the anomalies. That one challenging quest where you're focusing on one monster that isn't like what you fought before, and I do believe that whatever gets introduced in the trailer tomorrow should be something that will give everyone the biggest challenge that we've ever faced playing Sunbreak. And in the case of Velkhana, I do believe that she should be Sunbreak's equivalent to Alatreon for Iceborne. A new level of challenge for the fanbase to experience, and one that could give Sunbreak more depth overall. The way Alatreon changed Iceborne from a Master Rank game to an old school G-Rank experience was fantastic, and it would be great if Velkhana could give the same impact. Plus, it would benefit Velkhana herself. She's still a fairly new monster to the series, and I feel that if she gets ramped up in the same manner as the Alatreon, then I'd figure it would leave a lasting impression for the whole Monster Hunter community. For me, a rise in difficulty for the DLC should not only push players to new heights in terms of beating the game, but could also help in making Sunbreak reach shoulder to shoulder among past games that had G-Rank. And I would figure that with Velkhana, this could be done. Title Update 4 for me seems like the next chapter in evolving Sunbreak towards this expectation, and I'd figured that it's with this path that the DLC should go before we could go through the twilight months for Monster Hunter Rise.